I don't know when I first started paying attention to the highways at night. Most people just drive through them, long stretches of concrete disappearing into the dark, with nothing but the rhythm of painted lines and the endless hum of tires against asphalt. But if you've ever been truly alone out there, if you've ever pulled over at a rest stop past midnight, you know the silence isn't really silence at all. The fog comes first, thin at the edges, clinging to the trees like it doesn't want to let go. The lights buzz, flicker, then fall still. That's when you realize the world around you has gone empty. No cars, no voices, not even the wind. Just you, the hum of the vending machine, and the slow tick of the cooling engine. Highways are supposed to connect places, but sometimes, if you're not careful, they connect you to things you were never meant to see. Strange figures that wait just outside the reach of headlights. Empty faces pressed against bathroom mirrors. The sound of footsteps pacing behind the locked stall. I used to think the scariest part of driving late at night was falling asleep at the wheel. I don't believe that anymore. Not after what I saw on that stretch of highway in the fog. That's when I realized I never should have stopped the car. The road was empty. Night had draped itself over the asphalt, thick and silent. My headlights cut through the fog, but it barely reached the edges. I pulled over when I saw the gas station. It looked ordinary at first. Neon buzzed faintly. But as I rolled up, the lights blinked in a rhythm I couldn't name. Slow, fast, then gone, back on again. Each flicker made the shadows dance differently across the pumps. A lone clerk stood behind the glass. He stared at me. His mouth didn't move, yet I heard a voice. Soft, hollow, perfectly clear. Evening, I froze. The hum of the fluorescent lights filled the quiet. When the lights blinked off, I blinked too. And he was closer, closer, closer. The first time I thought it was a trick of the dark. My eyes adjusted. The next time, it pressed against my chest like the chill that rises before rain. I reached for the door handle. It rattled in my hand. The lights stuttered. When they returned, he was at the edge of the car window. Not a word, just watching, I stepped out. The asphalt felt cold beneath my boots. The hum of the pumps vibrated in the soles of my feet. I thought of running, but my legs betrayed me. Something about the rhythm of the blinking lights held me. I couldn't look away. I tried to ask if he worked here. The sound came from inside my head instead of my mouth. "Do you need fuel?" It was his voice, yet not quite. I watched his lips remain still. I filled the tank. The nozzle felt heavier than it should have. I glanced up at him. Every blink of the lights made him step forward. By the time the pump clicked empty, he was inches from me. The air smelled wrong. Ozone mixed with something burnt, faintly copper. A static buzz lingered in my ears. And then the lights all went out. I dropped the nozzle. I fumbled for the car keys. I thought I heard a footstep. Or maybe two, or more. When the lights came back, the clerk was gone. Or at least I thought he was. The station seemed smaller. The pumps were closer. The building seemed to breathe, exhaling the stale night air toward me. I slid into the driver's seat. The engine turned over. The headlights caught the clerk's reflection in the glass again. He was smiling. Or maybe not. I couldn't tell. His face was wrong. I tried to leave. The car didn't move. I turned the key again. Nothing. The rhythm of the flickering lights filled the windows. I wanted to scream, but my voice didn't rise, and then I was on the road. Or I thought I was. The station disappeared behind me. But in the rearview mirror, I swore I saw him standing at the edge of the asphalt, blinking with me. Matching my every move, I drove. The road stretched endlessly. Every mile looked the same. I checked the fuel gauge, full. The engine hummed, but I could still hear him. Soft, deliberate footsteps behind the seat. By the time I reached the next exit, I didn't know if I'd left at all. The lights had stopped blinking. Or maybe they never had. The night smelled colder now, metallic. I parked at a small turnout. The engine died. I stepped out. The air held its breath. No station, no pumps, no neon, just fog. And my own reflection in the dark windows of my car. Watching, I could feel him closer. Or was it me? I drove again. Or maybe I never moved. The rain-slicked road stretched ahead, empty. Neon flickered in the distance, buzzing like a trapped fly. A diner, though the hour made no sense. Windows dark, except for the pale glow inside. I pushed the door open. A bell tinkled softly, swallowed immediately by silence. Inside, every table held a person frozen in place. Coffee steamed gently, untouched. Forks hovered above plates. Eyes fixed somewhere beyond me. The air smelled of fried food and something damp like wet wool. I stepped further, boots tapping lightly against the worn tile. The waitress appeared. She didn't ask what I wanted. She didn't even wait for me to speak. She set a plate in front of me. Steam rose in slow ribbons. "My name," she whispered. The word hovered, pressed into my chest. I tried to answer, but my voice stuck. Her hand lingered on the edge of the table, pale in the yellow light. Then she stepped back. Everything remained still. I blinked, and the diner was empty. The cups were gone. The steaming plates vanished. Even the hum of the neon sign had faded to nothing. I was alone. No smell of food, no echo of boots on tile. I sat for a long time. The chair creaked under me. Rain tapped the windows in a soft, rhythmic static. Outside, the headlights of passing cars blurred through the water. I wanted to leave, but the door was just there. The handle cold, the lock unyielding. I tried to push it. Nothing. I pressed my forehead against the glass. I saw the reflection of the empty diner behind me. Shadows of chairs reaching toward the ceiling. A pale flicker, like someone breathing just out of sight. Time stretched. I couldn't tell if a minute or an hour passed. The rain slowed, then stopped. Outside, fog rolled low across the parking lot. I pressed my hands against the glass. The diner stayed silent. Then I heard it. A whisper, soft and almost kind. "Don't leave yet." I spun. The waitress was gone. The frozen customers had vanished. Everything was still. And yet, I could feel eyes. Or maybe it was just me. I turned back to the table. The plate she left was cold, empty. I had never eaten. The silence pressed harder, wrapping around my chest like damp cloth. I tried the door again. It opened. Outside, the world looked the same. Rain-slick road, neon buzzing faintly, fog curling along the asphalt. I walked to the car. The engine started smoothly. Lights cut through the mist. The diner faded behind me, or perhaps I had never left. I glanced in the rearview mirror. A shape lingered in the fog. Flickering neon reflected in pale eyes. I blinked. It was gone. The road stretched, empty. I kept driving. But the whisper remained, soft and insistent. My name. I didn't speak. I didn't look back. I could still feel the diner breathing behind me. Fading but never gone. The neon buzzed in memory. Steam rose from cups that no one would ever drink. And I realized the stillness had followed me. I had left the diner. Or maybe it had left me. The road stretched long and empty, a black ribbon through the night. Rain had stopped hours ago, but the asphalt still shimmered faintly. Headlights cut through the darkness, illuminating the faint outline of trees, then nothing. I had been driving alone for hours. The hum of the engine filled the cab. The tires whispered against wet patches. Every so often, the road reflected a shadow that shouldn't have been there. It started with a pair of headlights, far behind, almost too small to notice. I blinked. They stayed. No matter how fast I went, they stayed. Closer, closer. I told myself it was another driver. A truck, maybe a lost car. But every turn, every bend, they were there, mirroring me, matching my speed. The trees passed in slow streaks outside the window. I glanced into the rearview mirror. The headlights had grown brighter. The shape behind them changed. I tried to pull over. The shoulder was slick. The engine roared as I slowed, tires hissing against the asphalt. I turned, expecting a gap. The lights vanished. I exhaled. Relief. But the mirror reflected a car. Dark, silent, unmoving. Its headlights were off, and inside, there was someone. Or something. A driver sat behind the wheel. No face, not blank, not blurred, nothing. Just a shadow where eyes, nose, and mouth should have been. I wanted to look away. I wanted to scream. But I couldn't. The road ahead stretched endlessly. The engine's hum became a whisper in my ears. I gripped the wheel so tight my knuckles ached. The shape remained, silent and still. Every mirror, every reflective surface in the car. It was there, watching. I tried to blink it away. I tried to shake it. But it didn't go. And in every reflection, its head tilted slightly toward me. I drove faster. The road became a tunnel of dark shapes and faint light. Trees became shadows stretching like hands. The air felt thin. My chest tightened. Every breath tasted metallic. I glanced over my shoulder. Nothing. I blinked. The shape reappeared. Closer now, but still outside, still in the glass. Every instinct screamed to stop, but I couldn't. My headlights caught something moving in the periphery, a shimmer of mist that moved too deliberately. The engine's hum. It wasn't just the engine anymore. A low vibration filled the car. Or maybe it was under the car, in the asphalt, in my bones. I reached for the radio. Static filled the cab. No music. No voice. Just a low, steady crackle. I turned it off. Silence. The rear view reflected it still. No face, no expression. Just presence. I exited onto a small turnout. The tires hissed on wet gravel. I parked, shaking. Headlights cut across the fog. Nothing moved. I stepped out. Cold air wrapped around me. The faint scent of wet leaves, asphalt, and something faintly burnt. I looked back at the car. Empty. The shape wasn't there. I climbed back in. The engine turned over normally. The mirrors reflected nothing. I told myself it was gone. I drove. Miles passed. Still a chill pressed against my back. A whisper of breath I couldn't place, and sometimes in the reflection I thought I glimpsed it. Just for a moment. I don't know if it followed. I don't know if it ever left. The road seemed endless. The night, eternal. Every time I blinked, I felt its presence, watching, waiting. And in the rear view, the empty eyes of the driver stared back at me. I don't know if I ever escaped, or if I am still driving. I pulled off the highway when the sign said, "Rest area 1 mile." The night air was thick, humid, and still. Headlights cut through the fog, reflecting off wet asphalt. The hum of the engine faded as I parked. Inside, the restroom smelled of bleach and damp concrete. The fluorescent lights flickered once, then steadied. Every surface gleamed, too clean, too quiet. The air was wrong, heavy, like it had weight. I washed my hands at the sink. Water ran clear, then a moment later, slow, almost reluctant. I could hear my own breathing, and then something else. A slow exhale. From the stall beside me, I froze. The breathing, deliberate, measured. I knocked lightly. "Hello?" No response. I turned the corner. The stall door was locked. I heard the slow inhale again. And then I saw them, feet, under the door, pale, twisted, pointed the wrong way. My stomach tightened. I stepped back. The sound of the faucet dripping filled the room, but there was another drip, rhythmic, close. I leaned closer to the door. No lock turning, no whisper. Just the breath, slower now. Almost satisfied, I thought of leaving. But the air, it pressed in heavier with each second. I couldn't move fast enough. Every sound echoed too long. The echo wasn't mine alone. I heard soft scraping along the tile, just outside the stall, or inside. I couldn't tell. My reflection in the mirror trembled. Not from fear, not from movement, but from something watching from behind me. I turned, empty. The faucet stuttered. Water poured, then stopped. I could feel the presence behind the walls. Not human. Not quite, and yet it knew I was here. I gripped the edge of the counter. The tiles beneath my fingers were cold, slick. I could smell metal, blood, rust, something ancient. The breathing slowed. Closer now. I wanted to run. But every step echoed, amplified. The exit was across the room, yet impossibly far. Then silence, complete. But it wasn't peace. It pressed against my ears, my chest, my skin. I glanced again at the stall. The door. Still locked, feet still there. And then they moved. A subtle shift. Not walking, sliding, I couldn't tell. The air vibrated with faint static, like something alive in the walls. I swallowed. Every instinct screamed. I forced my legs to move toward the door. My hands on the handle? Ice. I twisted. The lock held. I leaned back. The breath stopped. The feet disappeared. I could only hear my own heartbeat, hammering. It was not enough. I tried the other stalls. Empty. No sound. No presence. I backed into the corner. Every shadow stretched too long. Every reflection wavered. The fluorescent hum buzzed low, threatening. I don't remember leaving. I don't know if I ran or just floated. The fog outside felt softer. The night less aware of me, but every so often when I close my eyes, I hear it. The slow exhale, the misaligned feet, waiting, it follows, not in the light, not in the distance, but in the quiet, the pause between breaths, the stillness. I drive now, and I check the stalls whenever I stop. I never open the first one, because I know it's waiting, always waiting. Rain fell in sheets, drumming softly against the hood. The road shimmered, wet and endless. I almost didn't see her. A figure by the side holding a cardboard sign. Soaked through, I slowed. She smiled. Too wide. Too steady. She didn't step back as I opened the door. "Thank you," she said, voice soft. Almost familiar, but her eyes never left the road ahead. Her smile didn't falter. Not once, I nodded. The heater pushed warmth across my hands, but the chill from her presence seeped in anyway. The road blurred beneath us. Rain spattered the windshield in relentless rhythm. I tried to speak. Words stuck somewhere in my throat. She didn't answer. Only the smile remained, and the soft, wet drip of water from her hair. Every mile I stole glances at her. Her gaze never met mine. Yet I felt it, pressing, watching. At the next town, I slowed. Here? No answer. Her smile didn't change. When I looked again, she was gone. The seat was empty. Cold and damp, I froze. The fog from her coat lingered, curling in the back seat. And wet footprints, leading nowhere. They ended against the door. Or perhaps, inside, I checked the mirrors. The streets were empty. No sign of her, no shadow. But I could still feel her. Soft, patient, smiling behind me. The rain eased. Headlights cut through mist, slicing the darkness. I kept driving. But every reflective surface showed the same pale face, grinning, waiting. I stopped at a gas station, hands trembling. The clerk glanced at me, then away. I could feel her presence stretch from the back seat to the edges of the lot. The puddles on the asphalt shimmered, and in each reflection, that smile stared back. I drove faster. The tires hissed on wet concrete. I didn't breathe. I didn't look behind me, but I knew she was there. Hours passed. Or maybe minutes. The rain returned, soft, relentless. I caught glimpses in the mirrors, a shadow, pale, shifting with the curve of the road. Her grin. Every time I thought I had escaped, the feeling returned. Not in front, not beside me, but behind, close enough to hear the faint drip of rain from her hair, close enough to feel the warmth she left behind. I stopped at the next town. The streets were empty. No cars, no people. Just the fog curling low across the asphalt. I checked the back seat again. Empty. Except for the damp footprints leading toward the center. I don't know if she ever got out, or if I imagined it all, but the wet prints remain in memory, trailing me, a reminder of the smile that never ended. And sometimes when the road is quiet, when the night presses close, I swear I feel her behind me, soft footsteps just out of sight, and the smile, still there. The rest stop appeared suddenly. Dark, abandoned. The asphalt glistened with rain from hours ago. A single street lamp flickered weakly. I stepped out, boots clicking softly. The air smelled of wet asphalt and something metallic. In the corner, a payphone stood, peeling paint, cord coiled like a resting snake. Then it rang. Sharp, insistent. I froze. The cord swung slightly. No one was around. I picked up the receiver. Cold. The line buzzed. Static hissed, high-pitched, pressing in behind my ears. And then I heard it. My own voice. Soft, trembling. "Don't hang up." I dropped the receiver. It bounced once, then settled. The silence that followed pressed hard. I lifted it again. The line was dead. Nothing. No echo. Just the faint hum of the night, but the receiver felt warm, like someone had just let go. My fingers tingled against the plastic. The cord moved slightly, coiling as though alive. I set it back, stepping away. The static returned. Not from the line this time, but from behind me in the air. A low, soft vibration, almost a whisper. I turned. The rest stop was empty. No cars, no movement. Even the weak street lamp flickered in a rhythm that made the shadows stretch. I looked at the payphone again. The cord twitched. The receiver hummed. A pulse, almost like a heartbeat. I pressed the receiver to my ear. Nothing. I tried to speak. The words wouldn't form. The line crackled again. A faint voice. Not mine this time, or maybe it was. "Don't leave," I jerked back. The sound was inside my head, soft, insistent. I dropped the receiver again. It didn't hit the ground this time. It hovered. The static swelled. The payphone vibrated. And then, silence. I reached toward it. The cord wrapped lightly around my wrist, warm, insistent, alive. I let go. The phone dropped, clanged against the metal base. Nothing happened. Yet the hum lingered, a faint echo of breath, of movement. I backed toward the car. Every step felt heavy, as though the night pressed against me. The air smelled of ozone, of rusted metal, of something faintly sweet and rotten. The payphone pulsed behind me. I glanced once more. Empty, still, but I could feel it. The warmth, the whisper, the insistence that I stay. I slid into the driver's seat. The engine turned over smoothly, but the hum followed. Low, soft, like someone breathing through the vents or standing just behind the passenger seat. I drove away. The rest stop shrank behind me. The light flickered out. Fog rolled in. I thought I had left, but sometimes at night, when I pass a lonely payphone, I swear I feel the cord coil around my wrist. Warm. Alive. And my own voice whispers softly in my ear. "Don't hang up. I don't stop anymore." The tunnel appeared suddenly. A dark mouth opening into the hillside, swallowing the headlights whole. The GPS flickered, spinning numbers like tiny fireworks, then froze. I hesitated. The air outside smelled of rain and whetstone. Inside it was different, heavy, stale. Something pressed against the edges of my skin, the nape of my neck. I drove in. The lights above blinked once, twice, then held steady. The walls seemed to breathe. Stretch further than they should. The asphalt rippled faintly beneath the tires. The radio crackled. Soft static. Then a voice reversed itself, slow and warped. I turned the dial. Nothing. Only the hum of the engine and the tunnel, expanding. The curve ahead didn't end. It kept going. I checked the fuel gauge. Full. I glanced at the clock. Minutes had passed. Hours. Maybe the hum of the tires against the asphalt grew louder. Or maybe it was inside me. Every reflection in the mirrors distorted. I blinked. The rear view showed another car. Or maybe a shadow. A dark shape stretching longer than it should. Always just behind. I slowed. The tunnel stretched. The radio whispered backward again. The lights flickered, each blink making the walls closer. I felt the air thin. My chest tightened. Breath rattled against my ribs. I tried to turn around. Impossible. The walls rippled, shifting as though the exit had moved. The headlights only lit more tunnel. Long, endless. I pressed the pedal. Tires hissed. Engine roared. But the stretch didn't end. The mirrors reflected the same shape behind me. Faceless, motionless, and yet aware. The air grew colder. A faint metallic smell, or iron. Something wet lingered at the edges of the vents. Every sense screamed wrong. Time warped. The dashboard clock blinked, hours lost. The GPS spun. Numbers that made no sense. The road beneath me still moved, still stretched. I tried to focus on the hum of the engine, the tires whispering over asphalt. But every blink of the lights, the walls stretched further. The shadow, closer. I glanced at the mirrors again. It sat there, still, watching, not moving. But somehow, closer. I gripped the wheel. My knuckles burned. The air pressed hard. My breath came in short, sharp bursts. And the radio still whispered backward, softly, menacingly. I finally saw a flicker of light ahead. The walls ended. The asphalt became normal again. The air lightened. But the clock said I had lost hours. The fuel gauge, empty. I blinked. The shape behind me, gone. Or maybe it never left. I drove out. The fog pressed in along the road. The tunnel disappeared behind the trees. I tried to shake it, tried to dismiss it, but every long stretch of asphalt, every curve in the road, I feel it again, watching, waiting, stretching. Sometimes, late at night, I swear I see it in the rear view. A shadow that doesn't belong, faceless, endless, and I know. If I blink too long, it will be closer. Exhaustion had set in. The road stretched endlessly, empty. Fog curled along the asphalt in slow ribbons. I was alone, or so I thought. In the passenger seat, someone appeared. Pale, silent, still. Their face, unreadable. They didn't move. They didn't breathe. Yet I could feel them. The heater hummed, warm air flowing over me. I reached for the glove box. The hand of the passenger didn't stir. I tried to glance again. The head forward. Eyes fixed ahead, I checked the mirrors. Every reflection. Their head tilted, slowly. Watching me, I blinked. The road remained empty outside the windshield. The hum of the engine filled the cab. The tires whispered against wet patches in the asphalt. Every so often, I thought I caught the faint scent of something. Cold, metal, iron, maybe faint perfume. It lingered in the air for a moment, then vanished. As if it never existed, I tried to speak. "Who are you?" No sound left my lips. The seat remained still. Their presence. Heavy, pressing in through the air vents, the windows, the mirrors. I tried looking straight ahead. The road, normal. The lines faded in the fog. The night hummed quietly. And yet, the reflection remained. In the rearview mirror, their head tilted slightly again. Small movements, almost imperceptible. Every mirror, every window, every shiny surface. They turned toward me. I reached for the door handle. The cold metal bit my fingers. I wanted to step out. But outside, the fog pressed in, thick and choking. The road stretched, endless. And still, I could feel them. The pale passenger silent, watching. I glanced to my side. The heat from the vents brushed my arm. I imagined a movement, a sigh, or maybe just the whisper of the night. I blinked. And they had moved. Not forward, not back, but the tilt of the head, sharper, more deliberate. I tried to focus on the hum of the tires, on the rhythm of the engine. But every reflection reminded me they were there. Not a ghost. Not entirely human, but aware. Hours passed. Or minutes. The fog curled along the road. The headlights cut ribbons through it. And the pale passenger remained, every glance in the mirrors. Their head turned. Toward me, watching. I tried to speed up. The engine protested softly. The tires whispered over wet asphalt. I blinked. And still, they were there. The air smelled faintly metallic now. A cold, wet scent that pressed against my lungs. I tried to breathe normally. The reflection in the window. Their eyes locked on mine. Even when I looked away, it followed. I don't know when I stopped noticing the road, or if it ever mattered. The presence. Stayed, silent, unmoving, and yet, alive. I keep driving. Every mirror shows it. Every reflection reminds me. The pale passenger watches, always. The highway hummed beneath my tires. Night pressed against the windows, dark and heavy. I needed a snack. A short break. A glowing vending machine flickered ahead, lonely in the dark. I stepped out. The asphalt felt cold under my boots. The machine's light was pale, almost unnatural. It hummed softly, low and persistent. I pressed a button. A candy bar slid into the chute, then stopped. Stuck. I leaned down, reaching inside. A hand gripped mine, cold, slippery, wrong. Another grip pressed against my fingers from inside the machine. I froze. The humming grew louder. The machine rattled slightly as though alive. Hungry. The lights flickered. I pulled my hand back. The grip didn't release immediately, just lingered. A pressure against my palm, insistent, waiting. I stepped back. The machine vibrated softly, almost breathing. I stared at the glass. Nothing moved inside. Rows of candy, soda, snacks, static, perfectly still. But I knew. Something had been there. The hum increased, louder in my ears. I put my hand against the machine. The vibrations traveled up my arm. A pulse, alive. I backed away slowly. The night felt thicker, heavier. The asphalt seemed to press against my boots. The hum followed. I glanced around. Empty highway. No lights, no one. Just the soft buzz of the vending machine. I tried to laugh. A nervous sound. The hum answered. The machine rattled, soft footsteps inside it. Or maybe behind it. I leaned closer. The glass shimmered, reflected my face distorted. I thought I saw a pale figure. A hand pressed against the inside. Fingers long, thin, wrong. Then gone. I tried again. The snack bar. The chute was empty. Nothing moved. The hum decreased slightly, but the sense of watching remained. I took a deep breath. The air smelled faintly metallic, cold, concrete, asphalt, and something wet, lingering. The night pressed closer. I didn't reach again. I couldn't. The machine seemed aware. Every flicker of light, every vibration, it was alive. I stepped back. The road ahead beckoned. Engines hummed in the distance, far away. I glanced once more. The machine stood silent, too still. The hum had softened. But I felt the hand linger in memory. Cold, insistent, wrong. I drove away. Tires whispered over wet asphalt. The machine faded behind me. But the image stayed. Every vending machine since. I glanced once. Check the light. The glass. Sometimes, in the glow, I think I see a hand press against the inside. Waiting for someone to reach. I don't reach anymore. The highway had stretched on forever. Fog curled low over the asphalt, soft and choking. I saw the motel sign flicker in the distance. A one-story building, dim lights, quiet. I was desperate. The parking lot was empty, or almost. A single car sat at the far edge. The air smelled faintly of damp wood and cleaning solution. I stepped out. The clerk never looked up. He slid a key across the counter. His hands shook slightly. No words. Just the key. The hallway smelled of mildew and old carpet. My footsteps echoed softly. Room 7. The door was cold beneath my hand. I slid the key in. Inside, the air was warmer. The bedspread smooth, familiar. I set my bag down. Something pressed softly against my skin. Warmth. The bed had an imprint beside me. Curved. Rounded. Like someone had been lying there. Just a moment ago, I told myself it was nothing. Exhaustion. The mind plays tricks. But the warmth lingered. Soft. Insistent. The window showed fog curling across the parking lot. A faint glow from the sign. Everything else. Still. Quiet. I sat on the edge of the bed. The sheets whispered beneath me. The air smelled faintly metallic, like blood or iron. I tried to ignore it. The imprint beside me shifted. Or maybe I imagined it. A subtle curve of fabric, a warmth that followed me. I told myself I was tired. Eyes heavy. Head spinning. I lay down. The sheets pressed against my shoulders. The warmth remained. I felt it more than I saw it. A body pressed close, unmoving. The hum of the air conditioner filled the room. Or maybe it was the quiet, amplified, pressing against my ears, my chest. I blinked, and the imprint was sharper, more distinct. Curved, pressed like someone had shifted. I tried to move. The room felt heavier. The sheets held me, the warmth. Unyielding, I closed my eyes. Breathe in, breathe out. The fog outside thickened. Shadows pressed softly against the walls. The imprint stayed. Beside me, I reached for the door. Cold metal. The hallway beyond, silent. I didn't move. The night stretched endlessly. Time slowed. I felt watched. Not by eyes, not by movement, but by presence. The warmth beside me, always there. I lay still. The air smelled damp, metallic, old. The sheets whispered softly with every movement. I tried to convince myself it was empty. It wasn't. I slept. Or maybe I just closed my eyes. The warmth remained. The imprint didn't fade. I woke. The window was pale with fog. The parking lot empty. The hall silent. The air still pressed against me. I left, slid the key back across the counter. The clerk never looked up. Hands shaking as before. I stepped into the night. Fog curling low, soft and suffocating. The road stretched ahead, endless and silent. The imprint stayed in memory. Warm, close, waiting. Every motel since. I glance at the bed. Check the sheets. Check the warmth. It lingers, always. The road stretched endless, dark beneath the tires. Fog rolled low along the asphalt. The hum of the engine pressed against my chest. Everything else? Silent. The radio crackled. Soft static. Then words. Slow, deliberate. Pressing into the quiet of the cab. It said my name. Full name. Clear. Repeated like a chant. Don't stop at the next rest area. I froze. The tires whispered against asphalt. I blinked. The line of trees blurred in fog and shadow. I ignored it. Tried to dismiss it. But the hum of the engine seemed wrong. Every mile stretched longer. The radio hissed again. The words repeated. The next rest area appeared. Empty. Dark. Signs flickered weakly, buzzing faintly. The door to the lot swung slightly in the wind. I could feel the hum beneath my feet. I pulled in anyway. The asphalt was slick. The lot stretched, endless and quiet. Every surface glistened under faint neon. I stepped out. The air smelled of rain and wet metal. The silence pressed in, heavier than the night itself. The radio still whispered, though the car was off. I shook my head, then the car door unlocked. Soft clicks. The handle pressed against my palm. No one was there. I stared at the empty seat. The faint fog of breath lingered in the window. I sat back down. The tires hissed as if alive. The engine purred. The radio hummed. Static. But the words remained. Whispered. Insistent. I tried to leave. The lot stretched further, longer than before. Each step echoed unnaturally. The fog pressed in around the mirrors. I glanced back. Nothing. I turned the key. The car started. The radio continued, soft static underneath. My name repeated once more. A warning. Don't stop at the next rest area. I drove. The road curved. Mist curled along the asphalt, low and hungry. The radio finally fell silent. But I felt it. The presence of the lot, of the voices, waiting, breathing, watching. I passed the next exit. The lot should have been there. Empty. But it wasn't. I could feel the space stretching, waiting to catch me. I glanced in the rear view. Nothing. And yet, a faint shimmer. A pulse. Almost a shape. I gripped the wheel tighter. The hum of the tires filled the cab. I told myself it was just fatigue, static, fog. But deep down, I knew. The voice, the lot, the warning. It followed. Quietly. Softly. Every mirror, every reflective surface in the car. A reminder, not to stop. Or perhaps, not to leave. I keep driving. The radio stays off. The road stretches, black and empty. Fog presses close. I don't glance at the lot anymore. I don't stop at exits. I drive past. Always past, but sometimes, in the silence, the whisper returns. Soft, insistent, my name, and the warning. Don't stop. I never do. The highway stretched endlessly. Night pressed down like a thick, wet blanket. I needed to stop. A rest area sign flickered faintly in the distance. I exited. Every light was out. Darkness swallowed the lot. The asphalt gleamed faintly in the car's headlights. The air smelled damp, cold, metallic. I stepped out. The door clicked behind me, soft. Footsteps echoed across the empty concrete. The air pressed close, thick with silence. I needed the bathroom. The small building loomed ahead. Windows dark, doors closed. Inside, the smell of wet concrete and old cleaning solution lingered. I flicked on my phone flashlight. The beam cut through black air. Every corner seemed farther than it should be. The tiles glistened. Then I heard it. Soft crying. Echoing. Wrong. Not quite human. Not quite alone. I froze. The sound moved through the stalls. A high, drawn-out wail stretched and warped. I edged forward, light trembling in my hand. Shadows danced, and then dozens of pale faces pressed against the walls. Eyes wide, unmoving, skin so pale it reflected the flashlight. Silent mouths open in frozen screams. I swallowed. The air grew heavy. The walls seemed to pulse with something alive. I could feel it watching from every corner, every tile. I stepped back. The crying continued. Soft, distorted. A chorus of something. Lost, I tried to leave. My steps echoed unnaturally. The exit seemed farther than it should. Shadows clung to the corners, stretched unnaturally across the walls. The pale faces pressed closer. Every blink of the flashlight made them sharper, more solid. The air felt wet, sticky, Cold fingers brushed the back of my neck. I spun. Nothing, just darkness, thick and suffocating. The crying grew louder, echoing wrong. High, then low, stretching the walls. I could smell wet concrete, faint metal, and something else, something rotting. I edged toward the door again. The flashlight caught movement. A pale hand extended from under a stall. Long fingers twisted wrong, bending the wrong way. I gasped. I stumbled backward. The crying multiplied. It came from every wall, every corner, every shadow. I ran. The tiles slick under my boots. The flashlight bounced in my hand. The door seemed further. The walls. Pressed in, I reached the door. Cold metal. I yanked it open. Outside, fog rolled low over the asphalt. The lot stretched empty, silent. I climbed into the car. The engine hummed, normal, comforting. But the images lingered. The crying. The pale faces. The hands under the stalls. I drove. The lot disappeared behind me, swallowed by fog. The night pressed close. The air smelled damp, metallic, and faintly rotten. I checked the mirrors often. Every reflection holds a shadow, a face. Pale and watching. Waiting. Sometimes I think I hear the crying on the wind. Soft, distorted, always wrong. And the walls. They follow me. Not the building. Not the lot. The presence. It moves. With me, and I know it will always be there. Always. The highway stretched into darkness, straight and empty. Fog rolled low along the asphalt, soft and heavy. Tires whispered over the wet road. I was alone, or so I thought. Then headlights appeared in the distance. A convoy, not one, not two, but dozens of semi-trucks, silent and slow. The air vibrated with their engines, low and steady. I slowed. They passed. Cab after cab darkened windows. The drivers slumped, motionless, as if the weight of something pressed down on them. Their horns blared in unison, a long echoing note that rattled the asphalt. Through the fog, through the hum of my own tires, I blinked. They continued down the lane, endless. Their engines droned in my chest. I felt every vibration, every low note, as if it was pressed through my bones. The last truck passed. I glanced back. The road behind me, empty, no headlights, no fog curling unnaturally. Just quiet, but the hum lingered. A low vibration under my feet, echoing through the cab. Through the fog, I swallowed. I drove on, trying to shake the sense of awe, dread. Every mile stretched longer. The asphalt beneath me seemed wrong, shifting, almost alive. I glanced in the mirrors. Nothing, only the faint reflection of fog and faint moonlight. Yet I could feel them, the weight of the convoy pressing down even after it passed. I thought of stopping, but the air grew heavy. The fog thickened. The highway seemed to stretch farther, bending unnaturally in the dark. I kept driving. Every so often, a faint vibration hummed through the tires, the memory of the horns, deep and resonant. I felt the trucks, the drivers, watching, even gone. The fog thinned eventually. The night pressed close. The highway returned to normal, and yet I couldn't shake the feeling that they could return at any moment. Cab after cab, silent, slumped, 1,000 eyes behind the darkness, unseen. I slowed again at the next town. The streets were empty. A single diner glowed faintly, warm light spilling out across wet asphalt. But even in that calm, I felt the weight linger. Every long stretch of highway now carries it. The vibration under the tires, the echo of horns, the memory of the slumped drivers. Sometimes late at night I see faint headlights far in the distance. I blink, they vanish. But I know the convoy is still out there, watching, waiting. And every time I drive alone, I feel the press of the road, the hum of the asphalt, the ghostly weight of their engines. Still shaking the highway, the rest stop parking lot glowed faintly beneath a single lamp, buzzing, soft, irregular. The air smelled faintly of asphalt and wet concrete. The night pressed close. Beneath the light stood a man, motionless, head bowed. Hands at his sides, I slowed. The tires whispered against the asphalt. The engine hummed softly. And still, he didn't move. I blinked. The hum of the lamp buzzed louder in my ears. When I looked again, he was closer, not walking, not running, just Closer. I told myself I imagined it. Fog shifted around the edges of the lot. My eyes strained in the pale light. The man didn't lift his head. His shoulders. Perfect stillness. Yet the air around him trembled. I slowed more. The tires whispered. The hum of the lamp cut through the fog. I blinked, and he was gone. The light flickered. Softly, then stronger. Shadows stretched across the asphalt. The stillness pressed closer. The air smelled faintly metallic, sharp. I stepped out. The night smelled damp. Footsteps whispered softly on concrete. I glanced at the lamp. The man returned. Closer. Always closer. I didn't move. The parking lot stretched endlessly under the buzzing glow. Every blink brought him nearer. Every shadow pressed into my chest. I wanted to speak, to call out. But the words stuck in my throat. The silence swallowed them whole. He never looked up. Never spoke. Only stood. Closer. I tried to leave. The car hummed under my hand. The door felt heavy. The asphalt beneath seemed to stretch. The lamp buzzed louder. And still, he remained, every blink of my eyes. Closer. The fog thickened at the edges of the lot. Concrete smelled damp, metallic, faintly sweet. The air pressed against my skin. I tried to shake the feeling. Told myself it was exhaustion, the night playing tricks. But I could feel him. Watching. Waiting. When the light went out, he was gone. I blinked again. The lot stretched empty. The fog curled low across the asphalt. Only the lamp buzzed faintly before flickering back. I stepped back into the car. The engine purred softly. Tires whispered over asphalt. The air smelled damp, metallic, and wrong. I glanced once more. The lot appeared empty, silent. I drove away. The lamp shrank behind me, pale light fading into fog. But I know. It will return. Every rest stop, every empty lot, every single flicker of light, every blink, he will be closer. And I will feel it. The on-ramp curved endlessly before me. Streetlights stretched in pale halos along the asphalt. Fog pressed low. The tires whispered as I followed the lines. I tried to merge onto the highway. The exit didn't exist. Every curve led me back to the same stretch of road. Same guardrail, same slick asphalt. Smoke rose from a wreck on the shoulder. Twisted metal, faint sparks, and a shadow, waving me onward. Soft, insistent, I blinked. Tried to ignore it. Tried to drive past. The road curved again. Same wreck, same smoke, same shadow. The fog pressed in tighter. Cold, damp, metallic scent in the air. Tires whispered. The engine hummed beneath me. I slowed. The shadow waved. Every loop, the same scene repeated, as though the road itself was alive. Replaying, trapping me. I glanced at the mirrors. Nothing moved behind me, yet I felt watched. The air hummed with tension. Every blink brought the shadow closer, sharper. I tried to turn around. Impossible. The guardrails stretched, curved, twisted. The asphalt, endless. Each loop pressed harder against my senses. Fog curling in thick ribbons. Smoke drifting from the wreck. The shadow? Beckoning time stretched. Minutes, hours, maybe both. The tires whispered over the wet asphalt. The engine hummed low. The shadow? Patient, I tried to call out. Words caught in my throat. The curves repeated. The same wreck. The smoke. The shadow? Always waiting. I pressed the pedal. Tires hissed. The road stretched further. I blinked. And the shadow, closer. Every turn felt the same. Every exit vanished. The asphalt, endless loops. The fog pressed low. The air tasted metallic, damp, wrong. I closed my eyes briefly, blinked. The same scene awaited. Wreck, smoke, shadow. I tried to follow it, drive past it. The road twisted back into itself. The exit, impossible. I felt the weight of it pressing in, curves never ending, shadows waving, smoke curling. I slowed again. Tires whispered over asphalt. The fog clung to the hood of the car. The shadow, patient, always, waiting. I blinked. The exit didn't exist. The loops, endless. The wreck, the same. The shadow, insistent. I let go. Kept driving. Followed the curves. The asphalt whispered beneath the tires. The fog curled around the car. The shadow waited. Every long stretch of road now reminds me of curves that never end, of exits that vanish, of smoke, wrecks, and shadows waving in pale fog. And I know, no matter how far I drive, the road will find me, loop me, return me, endless. The rest stop was quiet. Night pressed heavy against the asphalt. Fog curled low, sticky and damp. I stepped inside. The air smelled of cleaning solution and wet concrete. Still. Too still. I approached the sink. The mirror hung above it, streaked with age. Flickering fluorescent light above buzzed softly. I leaned closer, the reflection. Didn't move right. My head lagged behind my body. My smile delayed. Then, without me moving, the reflection smiled. A slow, deliberate curl of lips that wasn't mine. I blinked. The reflection froze. I turned to leave. The mirror didn't follow. I froze in the doorway. Silence pressed thick against the walls. The hum of the fluorescent light vibrated through my skull. Air smelled metallic, concrete, wet asphalt faintly drifting in through the vents. I glanced back at the sink. My reflection stared, head tilted slightly. Eyes locked on me, I reached toward the faucet. The reflection reached too. Fingers crooked, long, wrong. I yanked my hand back. The mirror still followed. Every blink, a soft shift closer. I stepped forward. The tiles under my boots whispered. The fluorescent light buzzed louder. The reflection's lips moved. Not quite sound. A subtle shift. A promise of something unseen. I turned toward the door again. My footsteps echoed. The air pressed heavier against my chest. The mirror, always watching. I tried to breathe slowly. 1, 2. The reflection tilted its head, not me. It watched. I edged forward toward the exit. The walls seemed to stretch. Tiles reflected shadows that didn't belong. Air smelled damp and metallic. I blinked, and the reflection was closer. Closer than it could possibly be. Still smiling, I forced myself to keep moving. Steps quiet, careful. The door within reach. The reflection, shifting slightly, following every motion. I grabbed the handle. Cold metal burned my palm. The fluorescent light flickered, buzzed. A hum pressed in through the vents. I stepped outside. Fog rolled across the lot. The asphalt gleamed wet. The air, lighter almost. I glanced back once. The window reflected the mirror's light faintly. A shadow, pale, watching. I drove away slowly. The hum of tires over asphalt filled my ears. The fog pressed close. Every reflective surface in the car held it. Every shimmer. A reminder. I blinked. And for a moment, I thought the reflection sat beside me. Still, silent, smiling. I check every mirror now. Every window. Every glossy surface. It lingers, and I know. It will always be watching, even when I turn away. The highway stretched empty, dark beneath the headlights. Fog clung low to the asphalt, curling softly around the tires. I was alone, or so I thought. A white van appeared behind me, headlights bright, unblinking, following. I glanced in the rearview mirror. The cab was empty, no driver. Yet it hummed steadily, quietly. Alive, I tried to speed up. The van kept pace. Tires whispered over wet asphalt. Fog pressed close against the car. I pulled over. The engine hummed, soft and anxious beneath me. The van slowed. Stopped, no driver. No sound. I watched. The engine inside the van hummed. The doors unlocked on their own. Soft clicks, metallic and deliberate. I gripped the wheel. Cold sweat prickled my neck. The van remained still, yet I felt its presence pressing close. I glanced away, blinked. The van had inched closer. Slow, almost patient. Watching. The air smelled metallic, faintly damp. Fog curling over asphalt. The tires whispered beneath me. I tried to leave. The engine protested softly. The van followed. Every turn, every blink, behind me, still there. No driver, no movement. Only presence. I checked the mirrors again. Nothing. And yet, I felt it. Every reflection, every glint of pale light. Held it. I sped up. The tires hissed. The van stayed behind. The air pressed closer. Fog swirled along the road. Every mile stretched longer. The van remained patient, watching, humming. Doors still unlocked. I blinked. The headlights reflected in the rear view. Closer. Unblinking. The engine's hum low and insistent. I tried turning off the highway. Every exit led me back. The van stayed behind, empty, patient. The road smelled damp and metallic. The fog pressed low. Every reflective surface held it, watching. I finally took a small back road. The tires whispered against cracked asphalt. The van slowed. Humming low, soft, deliberate. I glanced back. Nothing. Empty road. And yet, the sense of presence remained. I drove faster. Tires hissed. The fog pressed in. The van was gone. Or had it just vanished behind a bend? The memory of the engine hum lingered. Low, steady, insistent. Every reflective surface. A reminder. I check the mirrors often now. Every shadow, every pale glint of light. Every unoccupied lane, I know it could be there. Watching. Always, even when I think I'm alone. The fog pressed low over the asphalt. The rest area appeared suddenly, quiet and empty. A single picnic table sat beneath the pale light of a flickering lamp. I slowed. Food was laid out neatly. Steam curled from plates and bowls. Warm, inviting. It shouldn't have been here. No one was around. I stepped out. The asphalt was slick, damp. The air smelled faintly of metal and wet leaves. A soft wind whispered through the trees. I sat at the table. The plates were warm beneath my fingers. Steam tickled my face. I didn't remember placing any of it, or seeing anyone set it down. Soft whispers rose from the woods. At first I thought it was the wind, but the syllables. My name calling, soft, gentle, insistent. I froze. The air thickened. Fog curled around the edges of the lot. The leaves rustled softly. Every sound carried strangely. Echoed, wrong. I picked up a fork. The steam rose in pale spirals. The whispering grew louder. I glanced into the trees. Shadows shifted. The fog pressed in closer. I set the fork down. Tried to breathe normally. The plates stayed warm. The food, untouched by anyone. Yet, something had been here, watching. The whispers intensified. Soft footsteps across the wet asphalt. The leaves rustled in perfect rhythm. My name again, calling. I looked down the road, empty. No one. Only fog curling low across the asphalt. I glanced back at the table. Steam rose gently from the plates. The warmth lingered. The whispers, persistent. Echoing through the woods, I wanted to leave. The tires hissed under the asphalt. The fog pressed low against my boots. The shadows in the trees seemed alive. I rose slowly. Every step echoed unnaturally. The plates remained warm, the food untouched, and the whispers followed, soft, drawn out, calling my name. Insistent, almost pleading. I looked at the table one last time. The steam curled in ribbons, the food untouched. And the fog thickened around the edges of the lot. I stepped back into the car. The tires whispered on wet asphalt. I glanced into the rear view. The table, alone, but the whispers lingered. Echoing in memory every long night since, I imagine a lone picnic table, plates steaming, food untouched, warmth that shouldn't exist, and whispers, soft, insistent, calling my name, always. The highway stretched endlessly, dark beneath my headlights. Fog rolled low, curling softly around the asphalt. I drove alone, or so I thought. Far down the shoulder, a figure walked. Slow, deliberate. Not hurrying. Not moving closer. The headlights passed, briefly illuminating it. Then darkness again. And yet it remained. Exactly in the same place, I slowed. Tires whispered against the wet road. The air smelled damp, metallic. Fog pressed close. I blinked. It hadn't moved. I tried to drive past. Every glance in the mirrors. It stayed. Closer than it should have been. Yet always just on the edge of perception. The shape had no features. A blur, like static, faintly glowing under the fog. I couldn't tell if it had a face, or if my mind was refusing to see. I tried to turn away. The road curved. The figure remained. Always ahead, always watching. The fog thickened. Cold pressed against my skin. The asphalt whispered beneath my tires. Every reflection in the mirrors hinted at movement. A shadow shifting, faint. I blinked. It was closer. A step or two, though I hadn't moved. The blur remained featureless. And yet, I felt its eyes. Every nerve in my body stiffened. The tires hissed softly. The engine hummed beneath me. The fog swirled, pressing low, damp, metallic. I tried to call out. No words came. The blur didn't respond. It only walked. Slow, persistent. I glanced into the rearview mirror. Nothing behind me, and yet I felt it. Watching, waiting. The air smelled faintly rotten. Leaves and fog and something metallic. Curling into the cab. Breathing against me, I pressed the pedal. The tires hissed. The blur remained ahead. Distance stretched unnaturally. Each blink shortened it, then lengthened it. Time itself seemed wrong. I tried exiting the highway. The figure remained on the shoulder. Not moving closer, not leaving. Just present. I slowed. The blur stayed in place. The fog wrapped around it like a shroud. The asphalt whispered beneath the tires. Cold pressed against the glass. I tried to drive past again. Every blink, every glance. It remained. Static, blurry, watching. I told myself I imagined it. Told myself the fog played tricks. But I felt its presence. Heavy, insistent. Pressing in from the shoulder, I drove on. The tires whispered. The blur never left. Every reflection hinted at its presence. Every shadow. A reminder, even now. On quiet roads late at night, I think I see it. Standing, walking, featureless, watching, always, and every long highway I travel. I blink, and the blur remains. I was driving under an overpass. Night pressed heavy over the asphalt. Fog rolled low, soft and curling. The tires whispered against the wet road. A shadow hung beneath the bridge. Long, thin, stretching across the concrete. But no one was there. I blinked. The shadow grew longer. Curled across the road in front of me. The fog clung to it, pressing close. I slowed. The asphalt hissed beneath the tires. The hum of the engine pressed low against my chest. The shadow stretched, reaching further than it should. I glanced up at the overpass. Empty. Concrete glistened in pale light. And yet the shadow remained. Growing longer with every mile, I tried to drive past. The shadow twisted beneath me, stretching impossibly far, across the lanes. Reaching. The fog pressed close. Air smelled damp, metallic. Tires whispered over asphalt. Every reflection hinted at movement. A flicker. A stretch. I blinked. The shadow grew again. Every step of the tires echoed against it. Impossible, yet undeniable. I slowed more. Every curve of the road revealed the same stretch. The shadow lingered, reaching, stretching across asphalt, across fog, across night. I tried turning onto another road. It followed, stretching long, thin, impossibly far. Across the lanes, across the night. The air pressed closer. Cold, damp, metallic scent curling in. The tires whispered beneath me. Every reflection hinted at it. Blinking didn't help. It stretched further with every flash of light, every glance, every breath. I told myself it was a trick. A shadow of the overpass, fog, mist, night pressing close. But the stretching, the impossibility of it, pressed against my chest, heavy, insistent. I drove faster. Tires hissed on wet asphalt. Fog clung low. The shadow remained, long, thin, reaching across the road. Every overpass now carries it. Every shadow beneath concrete, stretching farther than it should, moving slower than it should, watching, waiting. I blinked, and it was longer still. I slow when I pass overpasses, not for the road, not for the night, for the shadow. It waits, stretching, reaching, and every mile beneath concrete. It grows longer, always. The highway stretched empty beneath the fog. Night pressed down, soft and heavy. Tires whispered over wet asphalt. I was alone. Or so I thought. In the distance I heard it. A high, screeching sound. Brakes, tires, shrieking over asphalt. I blinked. No cars appeared. Nothing moved. Only the scream followed. Soft at first, then circling closer. I slowed. Tires hissed beneath me. The fog pressed low. Metallic scent curling into the cab. The sound circled. Around me, I glanced in the mirrors. Empty lanes, no vehicles. Only the scream, growing louder. Drawing closer, circling, I pressed the pedal. The tires hissed in protest. The scream followed. Every corner I turned, it grew. Every mile I drove, it echoed. At a stoplight, I froze. The red light flickered, humming softly. And then, the sound came from beneath me. My own tires screamed. I hadn't moved. The car was still. Yet the shriek pierced the night, rattling the asphalt. Pressing in against my chest, the fog rolled thicker. Air smelled damp, metallic. Tires whispered beneath me, trembling. The scream! Insistent, echoing. I glanced around. No vehicles, no source. Only the road and the fog curling low. I tried to drive faster. The tires hissed. The scream followed, circle after circle. The sound! Alive. Every mile stretched unnaturally. The fog pressed closer. The hum of the engine vibrated through my bones. And the shriek, high, metallic, impossible. Wrapped around the tires, I blinked. It drew closer. Each blink shortened the distance. Each breath made it sharper. I tried stopping again. The car remained still. Tires screamed beneath me. The sound circled, pulsing, alive. The fog curled over the asphalt. Every shadow hinted at movement. Every reflection, wrong. Every glance in the mirrors whispered fear. I drove on. Tires hissed softly beneath me. The scream ebbed, then returned, circling, watching. I told myself it was fatigue. Night playing tricks, the mind inventing sound in the fog. Yet, every mile, every blink, the tires screamed. Not outside, not someone else, beneath me. I checked the road carefully now. Every curve, every stretch of asphalt, every stoplight. I never know when the scream will return. Circle, grow louder. Follow me, always. The fog presses low. The tires whisper. And sometimes, I swear I hear them scream before I move. The rest stop lot was empty. Night pressed down thick and damp. Fog curled low over asphalt. I noticed a small playground behind the lot. Swing sets glinted faintly in the pale light. The swings moved, back and forth. Perfect rhythm, no wind. No one pushing. I stepped closer. The air smelled damp, faintly metallic. Tires whispered softly on wet asphalt. Every movement carried oddly, echoing through the fog. I approached the slide. The metal glinted under the dim light. And there, a pale child's face peered out. Eyes wide, watching, unblinking. It didn't climb down. Didn't speak, just watched. I blinked. The swings continued moving back and forth. A soft squeak, like quiet laughter. But no one was there. I called out softly. No response. Only the fog curled tighter around the playground. Air pressed close, damp, metallic. I stepped closer to the slide. The face, still there, watching. And then I heard whispers. Soft, insistent, calling my name. I froze. Every step of the tires on asphalt echoed in my mind. The fog shifted. Swings squeaked. Leaves rustled softly, though there was no wind. I reached out toward the slide. The child didn't move. Yet I could feel its gaze pressing in, cold, silent. I blinked. When I opened my eyes, the face had tilted slightly. A slow, deliberate movement, watching me. The swings continued, back and forth. Soft squeaks in perfect rhythm. I stepped back. The fog pressed closer. The playground seemed larger than before. Stretching, impossible. Tiles, slides, swings, all whispering in silence. I turned to leave. The air smelled damp, metallic, faintly sweet. Tires whispered softly beneath me. The fog clung to my boots. I glanced back. The slide glinted faintly. The pale face remained, watching, waiting. Every long highway now carries the memory. The perfect rhythm of swings. The pale, unblinking face. The silence pressed heavy against the night. Sometimes, late at night, I imagine the playground, empty, moving, watching, and I know. The child never climbs down, never leaves. Always waiting, always watching, every long road, every empty lot. I feel it there, soft, insistent. The swings continue their rhythm, back and forth. Back and forth. Always. The car hummed softly along the wet highway. Fog pressed low, curling around the tires. I was alone. Or so I thought. The passenger door clicked, soft, metallic, unlocked itself. I froze. Tires whispered beneath me. The air smelled damp, metallic, faintly sweet. I glanced at the empty seat. Nothing. But when I looked into the window reflection, Someone sat there, still, silent, watching. I blinked. The seat remained empty, yet warm. A lingering presence pressed close. Every turn, every blink, the clicking continued, soft, insistent, unlocking. I tried to ignore it. Told myself it was the fog, the wind, fatigue. But I felt it, heavy, watching. I glanced in the rearview mirror. Nothing moved behind me. The air hummed low, vibrating softly. The tires whispered over asphalt. Another click. The door unlocked again. Slow, deliberate, I swallowed. Told myself to drive faster. But the seat, warm, still, every reflection, window, mirror, glossy surface showed it. The presence, sitting, watching. Even when I turned my head, I slowed at a curve. Fog pressed closer. Metallic scent curling into the cab. The air felt alive, heavy, breathing. I reached for the door lock. Nothing. The click came again, soft, relentless. I glanced at the seat once more. Empty. And yet, warmth lingered. A shadow pressing close. I tried to focus on the road. The tires whispered beneath me. The fog swirled low. Every glance at the reflection. The presence remained, soft, silent, watching. I blinked. The seat was empty, warm, waiting. Every long highway now carries it. Every locked door, every reflective surface. A lingering presence, always close. Never leaving, even when I am alone. The highway was quiet. Fog pressed low against the asphalt. I needed fuel. A lone station glowed faintly ahead. I pulled in. The pumps hissed softly. Steam curled from wet asphalt. The night smelled damp, metallic, and still. Across the pumps, a driver stared at me, unblinking, motionless. He never fueled his car. Never looked away. I tried to ignore him, focused on the numbers on the pump. Steam rose in soft spirals. The hum of fluorescent lights pressed close. He remained, watching, silent. The weight of his gaze pressed through the fog. I filled the tank, clicked the nozzle back. The car hummed beneath me and the headlights followed, across the mirror. But when I glanced back, no one was there. I blinked. The fog shifted. Metallic scent pressed in. The asphalt whispered softly beneath my tires. And still, I felt the weight. He never moved, never blinked. Just watched, across the pumps. Through the fog, through the night, I tried to leave quickly. Tires hissed. The engine hummed softly. Every reflective surface hinted at movement. Every glint of light held his gaze. The highway stretched ahead. Fog curling low, steam rising faintly from wet asphalt. And somewhere behind me, I felt the presence. I blinked. The car's hum vibrated. The headlights followed in memory, though mirrors showed nothing. Empty lanes, empty asphalt. I drove faster. The fog pressed closer. Every curve, every reflection held him, and I knew he would return. At the next station, across the pumps, silent, watching, always. Exhaustion pressed against me as I took the final exit. Fog curled low over the asphalt. Tires whispered softly beneath me. The night smelled damp, metallic, and hollow. The rest stop appeared too suddenly. Familiar, but too familiar. Every detail pressed against memory. I slowed. Every car in the lot, my car. Every license plate, my plate, shimmering beneath pale, flickering lights. Tires hissed softly. I stepped out. The asphalt was slick. Fog pressed low against my boots. The air smelled faintly sweet, metallic. Every step echoed unnaturally. I approached the building. Doors slid open silently. Inside, my own voice whispered, soft, breathed into the shadows. You never left. I froze. Every echo of my name pressed into the air. Every reflective surface held me. The tiles glistened wet under the dim lights. The walls pressed close. I walked through the lot. Every step brought me to another car. Every glance, another reflection of myself. I tried to call out. No one answered. The fog curled tighter. The asphalt whispered beneath my boots. Every license plate, mine. Every vehicle, mine. I blinked. And the lot shifted subtly, as though it breathed, as though it was alive. Every shadow, every glint of pale light pressed closer. I felt the weight of it. Every long road I had traveled, every lonely rest stop, Every shadow beneath the lamps, every whispered name, they all led here. Back to myself, I stepped closer to my car. The engine hummed softly beneath my hand. The doors unlocked themselves. Soft clicks, metallic, familiar. I looked up at the building. The windows reflected me, blinking, shifting, not quite right. I walked slowly, deliberately, toward the center of the lot. Fog curled around me, air pressed against my skin. Tires whispered softly in the distance. Every reflection, a reminder. I reached the middle, stopped. The asphalt stretched endlessly around me, yet bounded. Every blink, a new memory pressed in. Every shadow, alive. Every whisper, mine. You never left. The words rolled softly through the fog, faint, metallic, lingering. Pressed against the night, I stepped back. Tires hissed beneath me. The fog shifted. The asphalt whispered. Every car, mine. Every license plate, mine, I realized then. I never had left. The highways, the fog, the shadowed rest stops. All illusions, leading me back, always back. The lot hummed with soft life. Lights flickered. Shadows stretched impossibly long. Every reflection. Mine, I sat in one of the cars. The engine hummed. Air pressed close, damp, metallic. Every blink revealed another version of myself. All watching, all silent. I leaned back, closed my eyes. The fog curled softly over the asphalt. The night hummed with whispers. And in the silence, I understood I had never left. Not the highways, not the rest stops, not the shadows that followed, not the whispers. I would never leave.